Welcome in to the latest episode of that SEC podcast. I'm your host, Michael Bratton. I go by SEC Mike on Twitter. And I'm joined as always by my cousin Shane, who goes by Big Orange Balls on Twitter. What are you up to, you big Tennessee homer?
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Oh, man. Just another day closer to the college football season. We got scrimmages happening all across the SEC this tail end of the week and the weekend. So I know I keep saying it, but man, is it getting closer and closer? You know what?
It really is, Mike, and I'm keeping an eye on the Twitters. I'm keeping an eye on those message boards, and we're praying to God our athletes make it to kickoff. You know, it's that injury time. I'm sure we're going to touch on a little bit of that during this show. But, yes, I am ready for college football. I could see it, Mike. You know, when I could see it on the calendar, you can kind of feel the buzz. You get online, that's all everybody's even talking about. So I am absolutely ready, man. It's been a long off season, that's for sure.
Yeah, and we got a couple news and notes around the league, Shane, so let's just jump right into it. And kind of the biggest news item here broke right away here on Wednesday morning, I believe first reported by the On3 Georgia site, but Georgia going to be able to host recruits for this upcoming Florida game. Of course, it's at Neutral Field in Jacksonville, the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. They play, everybody knows, in the Jaguar Stadium. But pretty interesting news on a number of levels, don't you think, Shane?
Yeah, and you know, when I first saw this, Mike, I went back to SEC Media Days when Kirby Smart and Tim Tebow were having a conversation on the Paul Feinbaum show. If we can, let's go ahead and upload that link now so everybody can hear what I'm talking about.
I've heard that you no longer really want the Florida-Georgia game in Jacksonville.
You mean the Georgia-Florida game?
No. Come on.
Backwards, man.
I got you.
You tried to throw that plug in there.
I did, but it's literally one of the best environments. How come you want to switch it up?
Why is it one of the best environments?
How
many times did you play in Athens now?
None.
How many times did we get to play in Gainesville?
None.
I think that's special.
It is.
I think that's special.
But you get a lot of home and road games, but you only get one where it's split 50-50
no, you
in the
don't.
middle.
We're going to play Oregon this year in Mercedes.
I know, and there'll be pockets full of it, but this one's literally split right down the middle. Orange and blue, red and black.
It absolutely is. I tell you what, y'all tell Florida you call the AD and you ask him to come to Atlanta and come play us. We'll play in Atlanta anytime they want to play.
You feel like it's more of an advantage for Florida then?
It's not an advantage for anybody. You look at the history of it. The team with the better players and the better team usually wins that game, and it affects the outcome of the SEC East. It's more about, for me, I'm competing against guys all across the SEC who host kids at their biggest game.
Yeah.
When Auburn plays Alabama, guess where the recruits are?
Yeah.
They're at Auburn. When LSU and Alabama play, that's where the biggest recruits want to go.
Really
so it's an opportunity for us to bring these kids that fly in from all over the country. What game do they want to come see Georgia play? They'd like to see Georgia play Florida. They can't do that.
Yeah. All right, Mike. So you hear it. You hear it in Kirby's voice. You hear it. I mean, he laid the rules down. And I don't know, man, if this is a change in the guard or maybe I'm reading into it too much or something like that. But, you know, when I think of a head football coach saying something and changing something, I think of Nick Saban. I think that's why a lot of people were worried about when on his take on the NIL is like, if he doesn't like it, it may change sooner than later. And I just find it funny that here's Kirby coming out on national TV saying he doesn't like this location because he can't bring recruits down there. And then we're less than a month away. The rules getting changed, man. This is a game that's been played a lot longer than we've been around, Mike. You know what I'm saying? Then all of a sudden, it's like, okay, the rules are out the book because Kirby. So I don't know if this is a changing a guard or anything, but, man, I'm telling you, Kirby Smart's voice is pretty damn heavy, brother.
Yeah, and I'll break that down in just a second, Shane. I do want to just a couple items here for what I understand of what this new rule is. It's going to take effect immediately. So for this upcoming season, that's important to note. But how about this, Shane? It's going to be one of these where it is a neutral site, but every year, of course, they designate a home team. Yep. And this season, Georgia is the designated home team, so obviously Florida's the away team. only Georgia can host recruits. Florida can't do it. Now, that'll be flip-flopped obviously the next season. So Florida will be able to host. Georgia won't be in 2023. And neither team can contact the recruits. It's really like an unofficial visit. So you can just give them tickets, essentially. You're not really hosting them, obviously, on campus. So just wanted to make those little notes. But, yeah.
Oh, there'll be some folks running around. Don't worry. These guys will know exactly where they're supposed to be. But does this change Arkansas' situation?
I mean, I would think it had to. Up there playing in Little Rock when they do, and they have the spring game up there sometimes. So, I mean, if I'm saying Pittman and I'm Hunter Yurachek, I'm getting on the line with the SEC today and saying, what the hell? I mean, why is Georgia and Florida allowed to do this, but we aren't? So, that's something to consider. But very interesting point you make, Shane, because you think back to recent national champions like Coach O and Dabo. You got extra power when you win that title, when you join that elite class. We're seeing it down there. Jimbo at A&M, he's got all the power in the world. Nick Saban, obviously, at Alabama. Now Kirby, he already had all the support in the world, but it's taken to another level when you win that championship.
Right.
Just got that contract. And this is a guy that thinks about every aspect of the program, Shane. Literally every little aspect. He's got his hands in it. He's thinking about it constantly. And this has been on Kirby's mind for a while. And I think, it's wise that you point that out. I mean, he is now when he's at the height of his power, and hell, he could even grow it in Athens. I'm not saying that he's going downhill, but I'm saying he's got more power than he's ever had down there in Athens. I think he's wielding that to get his way, and it's pretty interesting. The Georgia administration, they've got to be fully on board with this to make his push, and all of a sudden, Kirby's getting his way, and man, it is fascinating. Maybe we are seeing. But Alabama and Georgia have been at each other's throats all off season. Now here's Cousin Shane saying, well, this is the latest sign that Kirby Smart is the new Nick Saban, the new emperor of college football.
Well, yeah, and I don't want to put the cart in front of the horse, but it's just it just I don't know. It fascinates me how fast-tracked this was. This isn't a topic that just came up this year.
Right.
This is something that they talked about for many, many seasons. But then here you come off a national championship. Here you are on the SEC network and saying this needs to be fixed because it's not fair. You're the ones that want us down there because it makes money. The Florida-Georgia line, I mean, this is a ball game that everybody benefits from except us as Georgia or us as the Florida Gators because we cannot host recruits down there. That is a home game you're taking away from us. And it's a big game because when you bring your key recruits out, man, that's what you want to do. You want to see the rivalries, You want to see the because you can feel the energy when these teams play, and it is a disadvantage that you're not able to bring some of those recruits in because who knows that momentum, that atmosphere may have persuaded them to join your program. So I don't know. I'm devil's advocate here. I just find it funny. Here, Kirby Smart says he wants something, and damn, it gets fixed.
and I would imagine more of that's coming as the years go by. You know what?
Think about it. When the rule changes and things like that, the first thing they do is they run to Nick Saban and see how he feels about it. And then now they're running to Kirby Smart. Now they're running to Jimbo Fisher. There's a handful of coaches they really want to know because they control the room. When these coaches get together, there's a few people that got some weight. You know who they are. Those big swingings that come in,
Right.
Exactly who is dictating the rules of this next phase of college football, and there are a lot of decisions about to be made, especially with NIL, especially with the transfer portal, and there's going to be some big decisions that are going to have to be discussed throughout the season and going into next season, and it just shows me that Kirby Smart's matters, that Kirby Smart's opinion is going to be considered when they have these debates.
Yeah, I think you're dead on, Shane, and sticking on the theme of Florida, Georgia, unfortunately, we do got some bad news from Gainesville. And, man, I was pumping this guy up on the last episode. I feel bad. Receiver Ricky Pershaw, the transfer from Arizona State, making an impact there for the Gators. And according to Jacob Rudner of 24/7 Sports, Pershaw injured, out indefinitely, suffered a foot injury in Tuesday's practice. And from what I understand, Shane, he was in a walking boot after the injury. So none of that's good. Don't know the timeline for him to return to the field. Hopefully it's nothing serious. But, man, this is one of the few guys Florida could not afford to lose. This is something that Billy Napier's been hitting at. The depth is not where we want it. And I don't want to say he was going to be their number one receiver, but that was the early buzz out of camp. Yeah. It'd be just a huge blow for the Gators.
Huge. And it's like there's a handful of programs that really can't afford to have these key injuries, and the Florida Gators is one of them. This is an area they're already thin at. Like you said, there was a lot of hype, a lot of buzz. They're going to need some players to step up if the Florida Gators are going to compete in the East, and I think he was going to be a big part of it. The closer we got, the more we heard from camp, and it's a huge blow for that team.
And they better bubble wrap old Anthony Richardson down there. You know what?
I'm not saying you're saying it, Mike, but I wouldn't even dress him out. No, I'm just kidding. You got to do that, but that we talked about this yesterday. You can't go in the season worrying about injuries. And God, now I'm worried about injuries. Right. You hate to hear it.
All right, Shane. Next, let's kick it on down to Fayetteville for a little update here with the Arkansas Razorbacks. And obviously the one of the key issues for this team, we got a ton of faith in the coaching staff. We got a ton of faith in KJ Jefferson and that offensive line and the running backs. But how are these receivers going to perform with Treylon Burks off to the NFL first-round draft pick? And we got some comments here in just a minute from Kenny Guyon, their receivers coach down there, and he's in his second year working with Sam Pittman and Kendall Browse. But a lot of buzz, Shane, about this Matt Landers, who formerly of Georgia. He was at Toledo last season, had a really good season. This is Sam Pittman last week was pumping up him some Matt Landers and just what an impact he's going to have. Jadon Hazelwood, everybody wants to know what he's going to look like in an Arkansas Razorback uniform. The former 5-star, I believe he was the number 2 overall prospect in the country. And then Malik Hornsby, the quarterback, who may be the fastest player on the team. We all know that he's taking reps at receiver, and hell, he may even start at receiver. So let's kick it over to Kenny Guyon real quick on, again, talking Matt Landers, Jadon Hazelwood, and Malik Hornsby, how that transition's going.
All the coaches we've talked to pretty much, and the DBs yesterday have talked about Landers, speed. How fast is the guy, and just what has he added to you so far?
It's just different when you got a guy that long, that tall, that fast, and can track the ball well, and he's added to our room something different, and I actually think it's picked up other guys as well, to say, hey, look at that, and he's jumped into it. He's eager to learn every day, and he's getting better and better every day as he learns and know how we do things.
He wasn't here in the spring, but him being an older receiver, that allowed him to kind of pick up things maybe quicker than, say, the 2 high school kids that weren't here in the spring?
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, he gets it. He knows what college football is all about. He went from SEC to playing in the MAC for a little bit and coming back to this SEC. He knows, what to expect, so he's not, that bright-eyed kid coming in like everything's surprising him. He knows what to expect. He knows he needs to learn, and I have to be ready for my moment, for my opportunities.
Jaden made progress from the spring, summer, now to preseason.
I'm guessing you're saying Hazelwood, right? Yeah. Yes. Man, tremendous. I think that's a guy that's gonna see a lot of success throughout the season, and looking forward to it. Just a really, really smart guy who understands ball, knows what you're trying to get done, and every day he's getting better and better.
This is probably a way off question, but at some point you got to kind of pare it down to 6-7 guys you're going to travel with, and you're going to say these are our 3 starters right here who are going to play the most. At what point in camp does that start to kind of – is that the end for the end of camp? Or?
You want to see these guys compete in at least some live ball. We haven't even had a scrimmage yet, so it's a little tough. But, you try to move guys around, get guys reps. Guys that don't get a chance with the ones, and you see them doing good things with the later half of the groups, you get those guys up and go see what they got, see what you got. So, like I said, the competitive nature of the room right now is so awesome that everyone's competing their butts off. And after a while, hey, the best ones play, and it's all about that execution, right? It's execution. It's a production-based game, You know, either you win or you lose. So either you got the job done or you didn't, and who's getting that job done more often, those will be the three on the field. And like you say, there always will be a rotation. So it's no reason to hang your head because you're not one of those three. Just be ready to roll when your number's called. And usually you get that opportunity. If you're handling your business, you get that opportunity. And when an opportunity comes, you got to take advantage. Can't be that guy soaking and not ready for it.
Part of this will be determined, Kenny, but how much are you counting on how much do you expect to have Malik Hornsby a receiver this year?
That's a really good question. I mean, he's different out there, you know, so he's a guy that we want to throw him out there, be smart about it all, and let him go get a chance to affect the game, you know, because he has that ability at whatever he's doing out there. With his quarterback, wide out, split out, wherever it is. I mean, he's got a chance to affect the game in a positive way, and so we want to give him that chance.
You got to just feel like he's too good to be standing on the sidelines. I mean, because KJ's, if he's not hurt, is going to get probably all the snaps.
That's how I feel right now. And we feel right now it's just as if he's a guy that he can't sit over there and watch. You know, he has to get a chance to go affect the game, and we want that chance for him.
All right, Shane. Hey, I mean, they may just be pumping it up because it's early in camp, but I get a sense of a receivers coach that is very, very, very happy with the guys he's got. And I think across the board, the average height for the Arkansas receiver right now is about 6'4", which is just incredible. You know what?
A list I don't belong in, Mike. Treylon Burks is an amazing player, and he's going to do great things in the NFL, and he's just not going to be replaced by one guy. Right. And I think that's kind of why we're asking a broad question here with all the wide receiver talent. You're going to need all three of these guys to step up, because when Burks was on that field, he demanded everybody's attention, and they're not going to have that right out of the gate. Now, I don't think that's going to be the case at the end of the season. I think some of these guys are going to emerge, and they're going to fit well. I mean, they got a hell of a quarterback to play with. I love the system there. But, you know, right out of the gate, we need all of these kids playing the best of their ability, building that chemistry with KJ, because they're going to need every one of those.
Yeah, and certainly, I mean, it would almost be foolish to say, you know, they could be better without Treylon Burks because he was so awesome. So I'm not sitting here saying that, but any advantage you think, Shane, where last year they knew if they were going to throw the ball, they were throwing it to Treylon Burks. This season, defenses have no idea where the football is going. So there may be a little bit of, a little wrinkle, so to speak, in the playbook that could help Arkansas. You buy that at all?
Well, I mean, that's a positive way to spin it, but you know, when you have a player like Burks out there and he's being double teamed, you know, that opens up opportunities for these other guys to step up. That opens up running lanes for your running back and KJ. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I think part of that's kind of a loaded question, but the thing is this. I'll say this, Mike, if Treylon Burks was on this team today, this Arkansas team would be a million times better just because of the other receivers, there are other options that KJ now has available to him. There's a reason they were feeding Burks all the time. It wasn't that he was just God's gift to wide receiver. It's just, you know what I'm saying? There was a separation gap between the rest of the team.
Yeah, I gotcha. All right, and last thing here, Kenny Guyon, who played quarterback in college, he talks about the growth of KJ Jefferson. I just thought Razorback fans would appreciate to hear these glowing remarks about their quarterback.
Your opinion on, in being a former quarterback, your opinion on how KJ has looked and his progression since last season, since the spring, and also Malik, how he's progressed at quarterback.
I'll start with KJ first. Just number one, I thought mindset-wise, man, just a guy that came out and you could tell his comfortability in being a leader. You know, he's a starter for a year now. You know, you can see it. You can see it. He's a guy that's talking more now, that's coming to the sideline, talking about what he's seeing more, talking to the wideouts more, what he wants, what he sees for those guys in order for them to be successful, you know, things of that nature. So it's more in that leadership factor that I see he's progressed. Malik just been a year older in the offense. You can tell he's knowing what he's doing out there. You're able to move him around more and do things with him to help him affect the game and things of that nature. So I think both being a year within the offense and actually seeing that time on the field from last year, those guys have progressed in the leadership roles and the roles of being able to bring the offense together as a whole. You know.
Now, sticking on the receiver theme, Shane, let's kick it on down to Columbia, South Carolina. We haven't talked some Gamecocks in a little while, but, man, they have got some options. And this is something that we've talked about all offseason with you're bringing in these transfers. You've got the other guys already on the roster ready to compete. It's not like a totally rebuilt secondary, but one thing that I think gets lost in the conversation, Shane, when we talk about Spencer Rattler coming in and upgrading this offense is the fact that some of these guys may have been primed for a breakout last season,
Right.
but we just couldn't get them the football. So we are just hearing so much buzz that the South Carolina receivers are ready to take it up to that next step. So are you buying the fact that, again, it's not just transfers that are new players, but some of the players we already had on the roster, maybe they're far more dynamic and big play receivers than we realize because we just couldn't get them the football last year?
Absolutely, man. I mean, when you got a quarterback, it changes everything. It makes the play. It takes an average Joe and can make him a hero if you're putting it in the only spot he can get. So, I think that's going to be part of it. But we know what South Carolina has brought down there. We know that there's more talent down there this year than there was last year. It's just, what does it look like when it's unveiled? You know, I think also that competition when that room is loaded, because you'll hear the comments here in a second. When you're not the only guy in there, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It makes you better because you're competing with other folks that can actually take your job. So, Mike, you're sucking me back into this Columbia hype, and I told myself I wouldn't go down that rabbit hole. But you know, when you hear comments like you're about to, it's hard not to just kind of, be a little intrigued.
Yeah, and we're about to hear from a Marion Brown receiver for the Gamecocks.
And I'll say this: I was thinking, man, what was it? Eastern Carolina they were playing last year, and I mean, it was a horrible game.
Yeah.
It was absolutely horrible. I hated watching it because I had money on it. But there was parts that you would think, man, if we could go back and I put Rattler on that roster, is this thing even close? You know, I mean, because there was a lot of great routes being ran. There was a lot of great things being done on that offensive side of the ball. We just couldn't get the ball to that guy. So to answer your question, I think immediately that's not a ball game anymore.
Yeah, no doubt. And, I've heard a lot of people say, well, my God, they struggled against East Carolina. They struggled against this team. They struggled against that team. But I think there's something to be said, Shane, for battling adversity and winning those football games, which you may not deserve to have won. And now when you're upgrading across the board in terms of talent and depth, I think that sets you up for even – because there's going to be struggles. I don't care how much we sit here and hype up the South Carolina Gamecocks. They're not going to go undefeated, probably, Right. And there's games where they may get blown out. But how do you get off the mat? And I think last year will serve them well. And maybe I'm not even talking about losses, but maybe, again, they get down. Maybe they right out the gate, Tennessee got them 14-0 at the end of the first quarter. How do you respond to that adversity? And last season, I think, is just really going to serve them well. So let's kick it over to Marion Brown, who's a guy we were hearing buzz about last year. The former Georgia Tech receiver was on the roster last season for the Gamecocks. He really got going there in the bowl game. But, I mean, just look at some of the guys he's got to work with, Shane. Josh Vann, Juice Wells, the transfer from James Madison, Corey Rucker from Arkansas State, and then returners Xavier Leggett, DeCarrion Joyner, and then Jakeem Bell and Austin Stalker. I mean, my God, we go 8-9 deep here, and that's kind of the message he's got.
Maybe just how different is this wide receiver room compared to what it was maybe even 4 months ago or a year ago at this time?
Oh, yeah, before, we had a lot of great guys. I think now that, we got a few transfers and freshmen in, a lot of people talk about it. This room is special. We're about 9-10 deep. Like it's special, man. Everybody in that receiver room can do something, whether that's freshmen or transfers or newcomers. Everybody has showed something during the spring and fall, and I just think that that receiver room is going to be a huge surprise for everyone this year.
I guess as you're here, 4 or 5 practices in now, who are some of the guys both offensively and defensively that maybe caught your eye a little bit?
We've had a lot of great practices. Like you said, that whole receiver group has been special. I can say from top to bottom, even freshmen like, Landon and DJ Black, it's been special. Even the older guys, on the offense, Juice, who just came in, he's special as well. Rucker, he has a lot of great talent as well. On the defense, all the guys that returned are playing their butts off. I mean, they're flying around. Yesterday, they had a great practice. They're flying around making plays. I think that, right now that the whole team has actually been pretty good. We just working off of each other and just all grinding together. It's been pretty amazing.
Hey, last little thing on South Carolina, Shane. I feel bad because I totally forgot about this, and I should have mentioned it on the last show because it's going to be a day late and a dollar short. But I don't know if you watched any of that Hard Knocks on HBO, but ESPNU's got their own South Carolina Gamecocks Hard Knocks that debuts Wednesday evening. Again, I know this pod comes out Thursday, but hopefully your DVR's recording it, and I'm sure they'll be replaying it. But if you're a Gamecock fan, you got to check out ESPNU South Carolina All Access. Cannot wait to see the training camp show that they produce for the Gamecocks.
Well, an advantage of recording the show on Wednesday, I'm not going to miss it now. So. Appreciate that, Mike.
All right, last little team to hit here, Shane. Let's kick it on down to Auburn. Brian Harsin met with the media here. We're winding down first week of camp on the Plains, and, man, he had some opportunities to hype up them Tigers, and he's basically taking the opposite approach. But, they start the season, of course, 5 home games. That could be so crucial to their season, getting the momentum going, proving the doubters wrong with the nationally televised Penn State coming to town. Missouri, the first SEC game, followed by LSU. We don't know what the hell to make of LSU. They could be red hot. They could be faltering. Who knows? But let's kick it over to Brian Harsin. Shane talks about Zach Calzada and his health. I'm hearing the great things about Robbie Ashford, too, was the A-Day spring game MVP. Let's not write him off.
Yeah.
We got the moped master, TJ Finley, competing for this job. Let's kick it over to Brian Harsin, talks to the quarterbacks, and starting the season with 5 consecutive home games.
How's Zach look now that he's out there? Has he got any rust? And just the quarterbacks in general, how?
Yeah, I don't know if he's got any rust. I mean, again, it's camp, and so you're seeing a lot of different looks from the defense. And I think all the quarterbacks have had their moments really good, and some where, we got to learn from it. I think he's done well. Today was a good day for him. I thought his footwork was good, threw the ball well. Like everybody else, he had a sense of urgency on the field, and that's where our quarterbacks really each and every day they got to show up and have great days, because if they don't, the rest of us really feel that. So there are really no days off for those quarterbacks, and I think today was one of our more consistent days from the QB. Still not what it needs to be, but it was still more consistent than what it's been from all those guys. And, even Holden's starting to really show some flashes of understanding what we're doing, changing a few things mechanically, so he's just a little bit better in those areas. But all those guys, I think, have done a really good job of applying what Coach Keesaw has asked them to do. Now we got more time. That's the thing. It's not a finished product right now, and that's for everybody. We all want to know, and myself included, but coaching that position, doing this for a few years now, that we have time to keep building through some things, and you just got to stick with one thing for a while until they get it, and then move on to the next, because you don't want to throw 5 or 6 things at a quarterback, because they're not really mastering anything, and you got to master something. You got to figure out what that is, and you got to master it, and then you got to move on to the next thing.
How excited are you and your team both that you get to start the first month plus of the season at home and kind of establish your identity as a team in front of your home fans?
Yeah, I think that's, it's a unique. Somebody else had 5 games this year. Who was it? I saw it. Is there another team that has 5 games? You guys should know that. All right. Well, look it up. I could be wrong. But there was another team that had, I think, 5 home games as well. I've never been in a situation like that, but we're going to try to take advantage of it and to be at home. And, look, we know our routine, right? That's one of the things. And I also think for our guys, too, is that needs to be our advantage. It can't be one of those things where you get bored with it, right? You want to go on the road. I think sometimes that breaks things up a little bit because you've been at home, you've been practicing. Sometimes it's good to get on the road. We have 5 straight home games, and in our stadium, that should be our advantage. So we have talked about that since January. of what that schedule is going to look like, just because it's unique. So as far as I'm concerned, yeah, I mean, I want to be right there in our stadium playing at home. We got 8 home games. Take advantage of it. We get to start that way. I mean, that's an advantage for us.
All right, Shane. Hey, have you ever heard a coach say 5 straight home games? This may not be an advantage for us. I was like, what are we doing here, Brian?
I know. Yeah, but you like to go places and you want to break up the monotony of having a home field advantage. No, Mike, man, this is crazy talk. Somebody asked me the other day about Auburn, and they were saying, do you think they're going to be an account? And I think back to what makes Auburn great is the fandom, brother. Is when Jordan Hare is a rockin', it's a tough place to play. It's a tough place for any team to come in there, and they get amped up for. There's a reason that Iron Bowl is so good, because they're all in. Any given Saturday, anything can happen. And when you start the season with 5 home games, man, that place better be sold out. If you want to be good, be there for your players, man. Make that place a dangerous place to play football. And you can do that 5 weeks in a row. Man, I would absolutely love to have that advantage.
Yeah, for some reason, Shane, I think Jordan Hare is underrated as a home field advantage, but hell, just like you said, they could have won the Iron Bowl last year. They won the Iron Bowl previous that was there in Jordan Hare. You go back to 2019, LSU's magical team. Mm-hmm. Basically, the only team that tested them was Auburn during that regular season. So there's just so many games that come to mind where Auburn's got at such an advantage playing in that stadium.
Absolutely.
And if Brian talks about this monotony and wanting to get out, my God, like just wait for the first couple of games when you get those fans rocking, they get behind the team. As long as Auburn starts hot, that fan base is just going to be more and more and more rabid. And they're the envy of the SEC when it comes to scheduling to start with those 5 home games, no doubt.
I tell you, Mike, I loved going down to Atlanta for SEC Media Days, but about day 2, I was missing my bed. I was missing my bathroom. I was missing my washer and dryer. I was missing all that. And some of that is you forget, when you're in a hotel. And, yeah, I know it adds a little bit. It's kind of camp feel, and the kids have fun doing it. But, there's also something, too, relaxing about just getting up, normal time, going to the facility and getting ready for game day. So I think this was just, you caught him off guard. Yeah, maybe if he could redo this question, because there's not one coach in the SEC that wouldn't want 5 home games right out of the gate.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, brother, unless you got anything else, I think it's going to do it for this episode of the show.
No, that's it, man. We got some bad news, got some good news, a lot of things going on here, man, and that's the beautiful thing of college football. We're inching closer every day, and I'm glad you found those clips for us, Mike. You may need a little coffee after some of those. Some of those didn't just wow me at the podium, but that's not their job. Their job is to put good product on the field, and I think we're all getting closer to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, brother, I appreciate you. As always, I appreciate each and every one of you for checking us out. If you made it this far, of course, give us that 5-star written review on the Apple Podcast app, Spotify app. Subscribe to YouTube. Do any of those. We'll send you a beer koozie free of charge. Just send those on over to that secpodcast@gmail.com. But that's going to do it. We'll catch you on the next one.
All right. See you guys. Go Vols.